Playa ho ath, uclasish tach tusinapshir cosa amti, uclasla Emily Hubert, mamashni amti, iahatis ax atla, uhux umiexu saaya ich iahatis axups, uhux nutwiexu Alex Hubert mohawk at, ish ganawage at. Hello, welcome. My name is Emily Hubert, and my traditional name is Tach Tusinapshir, which translates to bright shining star. My mother is Nuchannel of the Hattissat Nation, and my father is Métis of Ganawage, Quebec. I'd like to introduce my team. We are called INVINCIBLE, not invisible. Thank you all for showing up today to listen and appreciate what we have to say and what we have to share. I would like to start by raising my hands with lots of respect and gratitude to our local nations, the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam nations. I raise my hands to them for hosting us today on their beautiful and gorgeous traditional unceded territory. Sorry, I'm very nervous. Today, I would like to open up our group by sharing a song. It is called Treasuring Our Lives. Ich misken, or Ich misuknish teach miss. It is composed by Kamat, Levi Martin of Tlayoqueat.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Jewel Lavin. I am Cree from the Flying Dust First Nations, as well as Métis on my biological father's side, and I come from strong Irish roots on my mom's side. We want to give you a heads up that our stories include parts of our lives dealing with things like losing culture and family, being bullied, grief, foster care, and substance use. A lot of these issues are the result of colonization, including residential schools. This has impacted our families in very real ways for many generations. At the same time, we also share how we made it through, and we are very proud that we survived these issues with strength, creativity, amazing connections, and lots of hard work and healing. We invite you to take care of yourself while we speak to you today and do whatever feels right for you. We want to thank the organizers for inviting us to present to you all today. And now I'd like to invite Angel and Rain to introduce the Invincible Project. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angel Huol, and I'm from Sandy Bay First Nation from Winnipeg. Welcome to our storytelling presentation called Invincible, Our Stories from Care. We're a part of the Youth Council at Surrounded by Cedar Child and Family Services, located in Victoria, BC, on Lekwungen homelands.
Hi, I'm Rain, and I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. We're very happy and honored to present to you today. Invincible is a storytelling project that is all created, written, and designed by us as Indigenous youth in care. Invincible came out of a partnership with Kinship Rising, an Indigenous storytelling research project at the University of Victoria.
We created Invincible from our personal lives as youth in care, including the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful stuff we've been through. We take a lot of pride in our stories and in who we are as Indigenous youth.
To create Invincible, we create our own stories, artwork, and even our own website. We also did a lot of cultural and healing work in Circle and on the land. And we learned skills like graphic design, digital media, storytelling, research, and presentation skills.
All of us grew up in the child welfare system. We were removed from our families and communities. We are the children and grandchildren of families who attended residential schools. We hope you can understand how much colonial history has impacted us across so many generations.
For this project, one of the main barriers was the fear of being judged, getting made fun of, or being misunderstood. But doing this project, I faced my fears and found out that everyone will support me and I can take on those leadership roles, and that's going to be okay. Today, first we're going to introduce ourselves, then we're going to share our stories. We will have time for questions at the end. We're very nervous and we work very hard on this, so we hope you enjoy.
So this is our beautiful Invincible website. And here are our stories and art that we created ourselves. We also created our own logo and with all of our handprints. Our stories were recently published in an academics journal. We are now going to start sharing our stories. Thanks again for being with here today, and I am going first. So again, my name is Angel Huol, and I am from Sandy Bay First Nations from Manitoba, and I now live in Victoria on Vancouver Island. My story is called If Care Even Is the Right Word. As a child, I often grew up in the system. I have a lot of thoughts about the pros and cons of the child welfare system and how it treats Indigenous families and children. I came up with a little pros and cons list, and I spent some time thinking of good reasons for the system itself. One of the pros are if the children are in a bad environment where they are being abused in any way, they can sometimes get to a safe place. We can only hope they get their needs met. I often found that for myself and much of my family, the safe place wasn't so safe. For myself, it was often worse. Another pro is if the child's needs aren't being met, hopefully the system is able to help. They were able to help my family when we needed food and sometimes clothes. To add on that, we had to fight to even get what we needed. We had to fight to get clothes and food, just like our basic necessities. I feel like in my pros list I put word like hopefully and sometimes, and that really shouldn't be the case for all the foster care system. It should not. I also made a little cons list. Tons more cons than pros. My brain was marinating on this list when I made it. I was pondering tons and really thinking on it based on my own experiences. The cons are physical and emotional, often spiritual harm and abuse. So much neglect. Some foster parents should not be parents. The documentation is not done in the right way, and we don't have access to all basic information about our care and our files. Outside of making a pros and cons list, I will talk about my experiences in general. Some will be from my story, and some just because I wanted to bring them up. When I got older, I finally was able to read my files. It was a very thick stack. My file noted that I was high risk and difficult. I was a lost child. The workers who picked me up would always say that I was such a good kid. Now I guess it was because my files and notes said otherwise. When they got to know me, they realized I wasn't high risk and difficult at all. I wasn't a bad kid. It was the environment I often found myself in. And the environments they put me in was unsafe and unwelcoming. I did what I did to feel safe in unwelcoming environments. The files also showed me why I often found myself alone and separated from my siblings. I was the oldest, and they thought I could take care of myself. As a result, I missed out on tons of visits with my mom, birthdays, and more, and everyone thought I could handle myself. But I needed someone too. I was scared and alone. We were also kept in the dark a lot. We never had any information when they took us into care. No one would explain anything to us. They would get annoyed if we even asked questions. I just wish I knew what was going on with my family, where we were going, or why. They would just split us up. Why aren't our children ever told where they are going? Why are we an afterthought? I often remember hearing stories from my family, old and new, from my grandparents to my parents, aunts, and uncles, that when they were taken away from their family, they were never told where they were going at all. It's a very common occurrence. This is why my story is called If Care Even Is the Right Word, because I wonder where the care is in what I went through. We need to change the child welfare and foster care system. There's so much we can do to help and support for Indigenous children and youth. We can provide safe places for Indigenous families to strengthen our identity and become a stronger community as a whole. Thank you for hearing me out. And I would like to introduce our next speaker, Rain.
So once again, I'm Rain. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and my story is called Unfiltered. For my story, I made a list of the top 10 things I would like to see changed in the child welfare system. My story is based on my own personal experience of growing in the system. Number 1, foster homes and caregivers need way better screening to make sure the children are safe, because there aren't enough caregivers. The agencies approve placements too easily, and they don't investigate all the things they should be looking into. A home should be free of abuse. Number 2, caregivers need to be trained properly to have the right mind space. They must be mentally and emotionally capable of caring for a youth, not just doing it for the money. Number 3, homes and caregivers must know they have to put the effort to help Indigenous kids connect with their cultures and communities. Number 4, social workers need to listen to the youth and children. Believe us when we bring something up. In the past, I would say something and they would think I was lying or making it up for attention, and the harm was allowed to continue. Number 5, Social workers should be able to spend more time connecting with us one-on-one, doing home checks, making sure we're safe and okay, and building a relationship. Number 6, a youth in care should always have someone they know who will believe in them and they can go to for help. Number 7, the inconsistency is harmful. There is no oversight of what happens. CFLs will take kids who are not being abused and neglected, but they will leave some kids who are being abused and neglected. Kids get removed for false reports, racism, and poverty. But some kids who should be removed don't get removed. So many times, reports from us Indigenous people don't get taken seriously. I have called to report serious abuse and they never looked into it. Number 8, young Native women especially are at high risk, and they may not have anywhere safe to go. They are at risk of abuse and violence. They need a lot more supports and safety. They need to be honored, protected, and respected. Number 9, there's a lot of horrible racism. There's a lot of stereotypes that we're just bums or alcoholics or addicts, especially in group homes. They'll favor kids who are not Native and they get treated better. Finally, number 10, there's no communication in so many ways. They just ignore your calls. So many times I had the experience of not even calling me back. So much harm is allowed to happen because there's no follow-up. Thank you for listening to my story about how we can change the child welfare system to be safer for us Indigenous youth in care. Our next speaker is Michaela.
Hello, my name is Michaela. I was born and raised on the island and I'm Métis. My book is called It's Not a Glitch, It's My Life. My book is about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, otherwise known as FASD. FASD is what happens when a mother drinks alcohol while pregnant. This causes harm to the developing fetus. A spectrum disorder means it has a range it can be diagnosed in. It's also a developmental disorder, as it impacts developments of all kinds, whether it's social, cognitive, or physical. It's also known as a form of brain damage. My hope with my story is to share information that is easily digestible and usable for someone who is supporting someone with FASD. I hope you enjoy. Now, even though FASD is brain damage, there's a big lack of support for those with FASD, especially as you age. The most important place for support to start is in the home. I was in some programs for kids with FASD when I was younger. My grandparents did a lot of info sessions about it, and it really helped. My host was well informed. Having the people in your home understand FASD is the most important thing. That's where emotions come out. That should be our safe space for things to come out. What my grandparents will do if I'm freaking out or having a meltdown is they will get eye contact from me and ask me what the issue is. Then we can solve it together. This helps me calm down. Without that simple interaction, I would probably take over an hour to recenter myself. I get really embarrassed when I freak out around someone I don't know very well. I feel ashamed and I don't want to see them again. I get a lot of anxiety. So at home, with people I love, I have found ways to solve problems and move on. We still love each other at the end of the day. My grandma and grandpa will always give me a hug, even if I've had a meltdown. My grandparents created a kind space in our home. Not a lot of harsh actions, and a lot of forgiveness and unconditional love. It's a whole family effort, and it goes without saying that it takes a village to raise a child. We were raised with respect, and if we said something mean, we do know it is wrong. We can apologize and start over. We need grace, but we also need to be held accountable for our actions. We're not always trying to do the wrong thing. Sometimes it just ends up that way. It's unfortunate because we won't learn right away from our actions. We might repeat our actions, and it might look like we don't care or we aren't trying. But we really are. And every time we fail, we're already beating ourselves up for it. So please have patience. In reality, we really are trying. It's really hard to learn from your mistakes when your data is half missing. Ugh. It's not our fault sometimes the wires don't connect. It's not a choice, it is just the way it is. And we have to learn to work with it. To create a better understanding, I paired some aspects of the brain to a computer. Here are some examples. I had to figure out, why does the rest of the world work so differently? The best way I've found to explain FASD is to say that the brain is like a computer. A computer has certain parts that do certain jobs. We have a processing center, just like a computer. The more you run your processor, the hotter it gets, the more overheated it gets. The more it can wear down, causing a breakdown, just like we can melt down. At the end of the day, your brain has a limited processing capacity. A computer processes everything too. Even if you don't visually see it, it's still processing every bit of code all the time. My FASD is like a disconnected computer, so my wires don't fully connect, causing disruptions. Sometimes I need to reboot myself. That's the problem with many different kinds of disabilities. They have problems with things like executive functioning. If you're trying to cook dinner, plus do other things like homework, watching kids, or general problem solving, it's similar to having too many tabs open. You may start slowing down or not be able to process new information. Your hard drive will essentially get overloaded. This can cause you to burn out or crash. Another computer example is when my computer starts to crash, I can't run as many pages. I can't run as many tasks. I might start to crash more often. I might glitch out a bit more. I may need to stop for longer in this case and refix myself before I keep going. I learned that if you don't restart your brain, the problems will only escalate. It's important to get the person a break and let them cool down, get back to where they started. Cool down, then start over and see how it goes. I hope everyone enjoyed and learned something new. Thank you very much. And next is Emma.
Dang, so much paper. Hello, my name is Emily. My story is called Hear Me Out. My story is mainly about my upbringing and some quotes that have helped me get through the years. Hear me out. Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. These are the four main elements in your body and the four main elements in the universe. Not only do we exist in this universe, but it is the universe that exists within us. Does that mean we are not special? I think it means we are special in a different kind of way. Because now, when I look up at the night sky, it is no longer I am here and that is there. But it is we are a part of that. And that little association can be enlightening, humbling, enriching, and in fact, spiritual. Looking up and finding a sense of belonging, given what we've already learned about the night sky. I think about this quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson as often as I look up to the stars. Hear me out. If you're always in your comfort zone, you'll never find space to grow. This quote is from my auntie, who had said this to me when I told her I didn't want to apply for college. The next day, I went and applied. For the beginning of my upbringing, I was raised in a rural place on the northern far west coast of the island named Queen's Cove. It is easily accessible by boat or by closely navigating the backlogging roads. Yet, it was populated by 5 families, all descendants of my grandfather. As we were all living there, we had gotten a warning from the provincial government of a water advisory, telling us that the water was no longer safe to ingest, and that we had to bring our water to a boil for 1 minute before it was safe to consume. My brother told us that this water advisory was the reason why we were removed and ripped from our home territory. We were forced off of the land that we had called home, leaving it to decay from weather, looters, vandals, and wildlife, but not without a fight. My mother spent hundreds, maybe thousands of her dollars and her own funds to support her family to stay in the home of her choice. Driving her little boat back and forth to the town to get food, bottles of water, and gasoline for our generator. Today, that land is now flattened. They bulldozed over the memories of a happy and fulfilled childhood of a native child who would have lived in the bushes and trees surrounded by cedar. Now that land will probably soon be turned into a campground. After regrettably moving away from Queen's Cove, we lived all over the island, never staying anywhere longer than 5 years. My mother was basically a single parent taking care of 6 children, always on the move, from city to city and house to house. I am a practicing medicine person, currently taking part-time community wellness courses with Camosun College in Indigenous social work and cultural studies. I have been trying to better myself and my coping boundary skills as to keep my loved ones and peers around me and close. I am born and raised on this beautiful island, and I am so proud to call it my home. I come from a small village reserve named Ihadasitchinnikit, across the bay from a small town named Zabalis. My mother is an Indigenous Nuu-chah-nulth woman who was born and raised on the northern west coast of Vancouver Island. She attended the Christie Roman Catholic Indian Residential School that had closed in 1983. It was located on Mears Island, a small island off the shore of Tofino. My father is a Métis man who was born in West Germany, but is of the Ganawage Nation in Quebec. He lived all of his life traveling, but when he met my mother, he settled down on that small West Coast place called Queen's Cove and started a family. He had 4 children with my mother and took the time and effort to become fully fluent in the Nuu-chah-nulth language. Yet, my family was considered unfit to raise children, due in part to mental health and substance abuse. Today, we are working to change that. Thank you for taking the time to listen and read my story. Unapatli, tlek o. Chew, I'm all done. Thank you. We'll talk later. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Ellen.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ellen Hubert. I'm from the Haudenosaunee First Nations. My story is called New Beginnings. About a year ago, I had a bad fall and fractured my wrist, which caused nerve damage in my hand. In my language, Ya'akuksuwa means I love you, but it also means you are my pain. After the accident, I didn't want to try and fix my hand because I knew it would never be the same as it was. This project has opened my eyes to new opportunities to discover my artistic ability and the way it has changed. Throughout the process of drawing the artwork in my story, I couldn't draw for extended periods of time, so it took a very long time. It isn't a lot, but I pushed through. My hand is better because of this project, and it gave me the confidence to get help to try and fix my hand. And now it is almost back to normal. I'm a photographer and recently a nail tech. In the future, I want to take photos of all the native plants and animals of Vancouver Island. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it's short, but thank you. Now I would like to welcome up the next speaker, Lily.
Hi, my name is Lily. On my mother's side, I am Nuu-chah-nulth from Ihattasit, and on my father's side, I am Mohawk from Kahnawake. My mother was forced to live in a residential institution called Christie Roman Catholic School, where her and all her siblings suffered mental and physical abuse. Before attending these so-called schools, my mother spoke only our native language. Her parents didn't want her to go to the institution, but the school took my mother from her family and forced her to learn English and never speak her language again. She would be punished for speaking her language in many different ways that would break many hearts if they seen it happen. But my mother pushed through, she survived, and when she was able to live her own life, she had many struggles, but she worked to learn her language again, and eventually she taught a few classes at my elementary school. When I was 14, my mother was diagnosed with early onset dementia, which was rapidly declining. My younger sister and I were still living with her and continued to live with her for almost a year after her diagnosis. At age 14, I began trying to care for my younger sister and my mother. My mother worked so hard to care for my sister and I, but each day got darker and darker, literally. She couldn't pay the hydro anymore. We had no lights, no hot water. We would constantly go to our relative's house to eat, shower, do laundry, charge our devices, or use Wi-Fi. Now, my mother is in a care facility. I've gotten to visit her plenty of times, but each time I see her, her condition is worse. Although I'm still glad I can make her laugh and smile. And she still tries to tell me stories like she used to. This is a story inspired by her. My story is called My Mother Said. My mother said when someone passes on, they come back in a different form. My mother lived in Queens Cove, a tiny rural village surrounded by cedar, mountains, marine life, and fresh air. My mother shared every memory she could think of, even the good, the bad, and the boring. I'm here to share our experience with transmigration, otherwise known as reincarnation. One year, my mother took my family to Queens Cove to stay in her old house, which had been condemned due to poor living situations such as no access to clean water, water damage in the roof, and broken windows. The easiest way to get to Queens Cove is by boat. When we arrived, there was a dock, 5 residential homes, a generator shed, and a church. My mother told me about some of the animals that lived there, the main ones being chums, Kwayatsik, Muwich, Ko'ushin, Ka'in, and Awatin. As our boat pulled up to the dock, I seen 2 eagles sitting on a tree behind one of the houses, one eagle being slightly smaller than the other. Once we set up all our gear that we needed, I went outside to explore. And while I was out, my mother walked up to me and said, "My mom and dad always told me that when they pass on, they will watch over me to make sure I'm okay, and I always believed them." She gestures up to the 2 eagles sitting in the tree and says, "See the Awatins? Those are my parents." She points to the smaller eagle, is my father. And that one, she points to the bigger eagle, is my mother. As we went through our week, the eagles stuck by us, observing us and protecting us. When we left Queens Cove, my grandparents flew over the boat and sat at the end of the peninsula to say farewell. Thank you for listening to my story. Take care, and remember, our loved ones are never really gone. I would like to introduce Dorothy as our next speaker.
Ekwid Nash Nukwa. My name is Dorothy Sterling, and I am from Lower Nicola. And this is my story called Freedom. I did all the artwork in this book and my other book, which is about Indigenous hair. Freedom is about growing up in foster care and how I went from being alone and not being able to read my own middle name to being in college and pursuing my life goals. In the early morning of January 27, 2016, at exactly 9:02 a.m. on a Wednesday, I entered into the foster care system on a youth agreement. I was scared and I had little to no experience in the world. I had only traveled downtown twice before. I did not know that there were skyscrapers in Victoria. I had no idea that Langford was full of flowers or that lizards came out in the summer along with my freckles and cherry blossom trees. I was lost. I had no idea how the world worked, and I had no idea who I was. I never learned how to read as someone in the system. When I was 18, I couldn't read a single thing, and I was about to graduate not knowing nothing. But I decided I wanted more for my life. So I pursued learning how to read. I started meeting with an amazing teacher who gave me the gift of learning how to read for 2 years. I never gave up. I graduated high school and pursued college. I took some time away from it, but I am back now. I didn't know who I was, but with art and all the amazing people in my life, I've gained a lot in my life that has helped me grow into the woman I am today. Art is something I love doing. My hope is to finish school and try pursuing Indigenous tattooing. Finally, I'd like to thank all the women who took a part in raising me throughout my life. Your actions have helped shape me into the woman I am today. Thank you. And next up is Damien.
Oh, it's very, very tall, so gotta adjust that. Hello, my name is Damien Kakwash. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is on Treaty 1 territory. The nation I come from is on Treaty 4 territory, Pine Creek Nation, which stands right beside Lake Winnipegosis. Before I begin, I want to thank everyone for sharing their stories. Very beautiful, especially you, Emma. Very impactful. I also want to dedicate this to a fallen person in my life who would have been a few years older than me, and this goes to Phoenix Sinclair, a person who was lost to the welfare system, but I'm here to honor her memory. I am writing this story as a victim of the child welfare system, being an Indigenous youth from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I know firsthand that whoever goes through the system loses a piece of their identity. There are a lot of questions that need to be asked. They're about the system, but for me, the question I most want answers to is, how and why did the foster care system cause so much harm to those who are part of it? The answers can vary from person to person because of experience. My story is about 3 topics: the impact of colonialism, residential schools, and broken trust, and how these 3 factors together have created a harmful child welfare system. I picked thunder and lightning as the main image for my story because thunder and lightning can start very destructive fires, but they also inspire awe. When I was growing up in Winnipeg, there were huge thunderstorms. Sometimes I wasn't sure if the lights were lightning or the lights of the cop cars or helicopters. What I love about lightning is that you can see how impactful, how imperfect the lines are. It shows how imperfect life is for Indigenous people. There will be more and more destructive storms and lightning, until we could find justice to make it right. Colonization created a road that led us to residential schools, and this road led us to the current child welfare system. This is a very deep topic, as residential schools have impacted thousands of Indigenous families, including my own. My two biological parents went to residential schools, and my maternal grandmother also attended. This explains where things started. Once colonization took place, it caused conflict among the Indigenous people, but also the colonizers. We adopted colonial mindsets as a result, so exploitation, profit, and stopped caring for each other. To survive, we had no choice, but the damage has been done. We deserve our own self-government. We had this before colonization. Now, when I think of the child welfare system, the image that comes to mind is an unpaved, rocky road full of potholes. No matter how much you patch it up, the cracks will always be there. Our people continue to fall through these cracks. The road is under-resourced, it is not safe to navigate, and is a real hazard to us Indigenous people. Discrimination and racism are still the main reasons for the system's existence. That's why it's hard for a lot of Indigenous people to trust the government and the child welfare system. Trust is like a chain, and the chain linking the system and government to Indigenous people is eroded. It is rusty and broken. The links are no longer connected, but we are more than a paycheck. We look up to our social workers and organizations that are trying to improve and be there for us, but the system gets in the way. Funding, training, education of social workers, and the lack of foster parents. There's so many gaps that all make it difficult for us. We need fair funding for Indigenous services. We're one of the best countries in the world, but we give it away. Such as letting the industry go through sacred lands, which means old growth forests getting cut down, instead of supporting Indigenous families who need it the most. Some people grew up without any culture, or they have to discover their own identity. I lost a piece of myself in the system. I don't know much about my home teachings and my culture. It's a hard process, but the more we write about it, and the more likely is that things will change. Thank you for listening. I would also like to introduce our last speaker of the day, Jewel.
Hello again. You might remember me from the start, but my name is Jewel Lavin. I am Cree from the Flying Dust First Nations, which is located in Saskatchewan, just shy from Meadow Lake. And I'm Métis from my biological father's side, and I come from strong Irish roots on my mom's side. I'm born and raised in Victoria, and I'm extremely proud to be an urban Indigenous. This is my story. It's called The White Raven. Born into a world where I didn't belong. I am lost in this city surrounded by strangers with eyes that don't look like mine. The ocean is the only thing that makes me feel at home, but why do I still feel lost? Am I an imposter? Sus. I was raised by the moon, sun, and stars. I am different from my family. I'm a white raven, and they aren't ravens at all. They say it's because I am special. My dad's a raven, but he's lost too, so I was never taught how to be a raven. You aren't a raven. You don't look like us, but I'm trying to learn. I don't belong. Who am I? We all need light to grow. The moon, sun, and stars encouraged me to be a raven. The other ravens could see I wasn't the same as them. They called me names and told me I couldn't be a raven because I looked different and that I glow like the sun. I just wanted to belong. I wanted to learn to be a raven, whatever that means. I tried. I felt so alone. We are so different, yet the same. You're not supposed to fit in a box, and definitely not the boring box. I felt alone until I met a white black bear named Spirit. Spirit felt alone too. We were both lost. We shared stories with each other, taught each other what we knew. Together, we realized our appearance didn't affect our value. We became family. We are special. Stronger together. You are my light. You are a star. You glow. Representation matters. I am an urban Indigenous. I am not an imposter, and I do belong. This is who I am. I am not lost. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I am still learning and wish to continue learning for the rest of my life. This is just part of my story. Together, we are invincible. I'm extremely proud to be able to share this short story I've written and illustrated about my personal experience being an urban Indigenous youth that didn't quite fit the image. I hope my story can remind you that you are never alone. You aren't supposed to fit in a box, and especially not the boring box. Embrace your differences, as that's what makes us who we are. Be proud. We are strong. We are warriors. We are invincible. And now I'd like to thank you all for listening to our presentation. I hope you've enjoyed all of our stories. We've never done a presentation in person to an audience of this size. I know we were all nervous. Well, I know I was and still am. But I think we did absolutely amazing, and I'm extremely proud of every single one of us. And now we've saved roughly 20 minutes to answer any questions or comments that you may have.
Whew. That was amazing, powerful. So I have the honor of supporting the question and answer period. So we got about 15 minutes. We have microphones that are in the aisles. So if anybody has questions or comments, please make your way to the microphones. And you can start a line behind there if you want to. Don't all run at the same time. Don't fight. Just kidding.
Is this on? Oh.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Moore. I'm Director of Community Services for the Kitsillas First Nation in Terrace, BC. And my question, there are a couple of you that are from other provinces, and I just wanted to know what brought you to British Columbia.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay. What brought me here was when I was a child, there was some harm back home, so my mom took me and my siblings and we fled to BC. And so that was when I was a child. That's when I first started. Well, I was in foster care in and out, but it got worse when we moved out to BC. Yeah, in and out of care, so yeah.
My mom brought me out here, and I'm really thankful for her. I love you.
I was born there.
Vancouver Island, born and raised.
As the same as Rain, my sister, I'd like to thank my mom for that. It was a long process, but she wanted to move here, and I'm grateful for that, because if it was for that, I wouldn't have discovered more of my identity, and I'm grateful for that. Love you, Mom.
And I'm born and raised in Victoria. Woo!
Thank you, and I appreciate you all sharing your stories. It's time to hear the youth. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for your brave endeavors today, this morning. It's really heartfelt and, wonderful to see that you have grown into young adults and that you're still growing and still learning. So my question is, based on your young experience, do any of you plan on going into social work to help and be that advocate for youth in care?
I plan on doing everything I can to change the world. That's my answer.
Well, it's kind of a debate at the moment, but becoming an Indigenous journalist or a social worker is, well, the path I'm leaning to at the moment. So it's kind of tricky, but I'll get my answer once I get into university after I get my Indigenous diploma.
I am finishing Indigenous Family Support Worker program, and then I'm probably going to go to the University of Victoria and work on a social worker's degree.
I raise my hands to all of the social workers that put in hours of days of their life to work with the youth and to make things better for them. And I understand that a job like this is takes a toll on you, and you're put in a place where you're surrounded by trauma. So hats off to all of the social workers. Thank you. I am currently taking courses with Camosun College in Indigenous Community Wellness, which ties into Indigenous social work and cultural studies. And after I finish this course, I hope to use the knowledge from the teachings in my classes to hopefully work within my Indigenous community of Yihadisit, or at least within the communities of Victoria, to be either youth representative or a youth worker or a community worker. Thank you.
I did really debate doing social work for a really long time, but right now I'm in school for my master's in psychology, which can take you down back into that route, so we'll see what happens.
I've thought about doing that, but my dream is doing pediatric medicine.
I've thought about it, but I am going into healthcare instead.
And I think in healthcare, you're still dealing with.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm planning to become either a midwife or a nurse.
Congratulations. So I'm a former foster parent, and it is tough being a foster parent. Taking a child into your home and dealing with their trauma and making sure that we're feeling safe and making sure that the child's needs are being met. It wasn't about the money for me. It was more about the kids making sure that they felt safe. And on where I live, our house is considered a safe house. And if anybody wanted a place to go or just to hang out, they'd come to my house. So thank you all for sharing.
Just a comment. I respect you all. I love you all and want to give each one of you a big hug for your resilience, bravery to sit on a panel, share your personal stories and the beautiful artwork. I sit as an elder with Yaak Mead, Fraser Valley Aboriginal Child and Family. And I'm thinking the complex where I live, 40 units is full of elders who rarely get visits from their children or their grandchildren and are very lonely and isolated. And the elders in the Indigenous community can suffer from loneliness and not having anyone to give to. Maybe their families are moved away. And what a wonderful match we could bring to come together to support youth that are going through hard times, to help your journey, and would help the elders' journey too, by sharing their stories, their wisdom, and to help them not to be so lonely. So maybe people all across the nation here can bring that home. And I used to work for Big Brothers, Big Sisters too. And again, it was matching and mentoring, because we're all cheerleading you here and wish the best for you. All my relations, how
Abanadas, Sitsozi Ethan Hunlin Hentich, Tidalel Desni. Good morning, my name is Ethan Hunlin, and I had a few questions. So, when elders talk about family, what do they usually say? And how do you think those ideas fit into how we care for our families today?
Well, I'm not an elder, so I can't speak for them, but I would like to think that when they say family, they mean anyone who they know. Because from experience, a lot of elders that I know, they always say, I love you. They always say, I care about you, even if they hardly even know you. I do understand the feelings that they do have. I am appreciative of everybody, but I just can't put the words together or put the emotions together to actually say, I love you, or I care about you. Yeah.
Could you repeat that question again?
So, when elders talk about our families, what do they usually say? And how do you think those ideas could fit into how we care for our families today?
Well, I'm just gonna give like a half-ass answer, but so I often hear them say that family is important, obviously, and knowing where you come from is important because it tells you who you are. And in care, we all, or most of us, do not know our family, and so we have this part of us that we don't know who it is, but it is here within us. And so learning about who you are and where you come from is important so that you can show others to love themselves and to love yourself. Thank you.
Since I was born and raised in Victoria, I've never really gotten the chance to talk to many elders. But just this summer, I went to the Flying Dust First Nations powwow for the first time ever. Woohoo! And I got to speak to some people that weren't my relatives, but I see them as my relatives because they took me in and were teaching me things as if I was their family. So I kind of connect with how you don't have to be blood to be family. Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to thank all the speakers. And it looks like we have our Children Our Way 2.0. Hopefully you guys will have a conference of your own. Your stories are invaluable. And I really believe that we need to have your organization crop up in all our communities because we have a lot of kids in care. So your stories really touched a lot of us, and we do a lot of the work working with youth and families. We're very, very passionate about our job. I work for Sassman's Society. We're on Vancouver Island. And so I really wanted to acknowledge your stories, and I really hope that this grows and that you do have your own conference. And Kleko, Kleko.
Thank you.
Hari, taben kesi andit su hadat ni andit. I'm telling you, I'm really proud of you on how you talk. My name is Joanna. It's my traditional name. But my government name is Maureen Thomas. And I just want to applaud you for how well you did your presentation. I'm an elder, and I really loved your stories because by heart I'm a storyteller. I tell stories from how the sun become, how he became. Grandmother Moon, the earth, the water, the sun, the trees, the land. And we got to remember we take care of it. We take care of our family. We take care of our children. Because you know, when you think about it, the children are in the middle. You're sacred. The next one is the women and the grandmas. Then the grandfathers, and then the warriors. And they protect you like that, and it's a circle. It's never a triangle, a square, or whatever. We always think in a circle because our seasons go in a circle. You go to from spring, summer, fall, winter, and it changes. But that's the way our life is. And I want to thank you for your courage to go up. You know, it takes a brave person to get up and speak, tell their story. And I appreciate you. And taben kesi means I love you. I don't know you, but you're my kids. You know, you say my name Joanna means you look after all. In my territory, I look after my frog clan and my grouse clan. So I keep an eye on everything. I make sure things are done right, whether it's the welfare system or if our child wellness group, I'm a part of it, and I commend Mary T.G. and what was his name, Terry. They're from my territory, and I'm sure glad to see them. And I was just overwhelmed by the generosity and the niceness of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and what was the other one? Squamish Nation for inviting us here on your beautiful territory. I appreciate you, and I say masicho. Stabes na chailan, si tabe hund isalian ditsen. You make my heart really happy, and I'm glad here I came. I would say.
Masicho, my name is Anne McKenzie. Oh, sorry, do you want to respond first? You go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that as she was talking about how the children are important, it made me look down at my drum because I had an encounter with a very, very young singer, and he's only like 9 years old. He had the strongest voice, and I met him only once. I painted this drum for him, and I don't know how to contact him. The painting's not done, but it's to signify that we need to look after our children, even if they're not our own. And I had also written a story about that encounter. It is on our INVINCIBLE website. All of us have lots of stories that we have written, and I encourage you all to read all of our stories and to share them with your companions, your friends, your family, your workplace, because they all have underlining meanings that are stronger than what the pages entail. Thank you.
My name is Anne McKenzie. I'm a Clecho from the Northwest Territories, a small community called Betchico. Yes, I want to start with a similar theme around that law of love, and I love you and admire you, and just you fill us all with pride and hope. My question would be, as we look around the room, there's lots of adults, and I'm so grateful that we started with the youth voice. And so what I'm wondering for the adults in the room, the social workers, the aunties, the uncles, the community members, and I admire, what you've shared where you're at your journey right now, in your creativity, self-acceptance, connections to culture. For all the adults, how can we best support your journeys?
Just listen. Give a helping hand. Encourage us to seek out the right people. Give us outlets to vent, to share our ideas. Give us outlets to act on these ideas. A lot of our youth, they're shy. They don't know how to ask for help, or they know how to, they just don't. They can't build up enough courage to. And so it is important that the adults make the first step in encouraging the youth. And it's important that the adults encourage the youth in the right ways that work for the youth. Because a lot of them, they're personal. A lot of them, they're eccentric. It's important to find what works for the youth. And it's important to shine that light so that they can glow.
Definitely giving the youth a safe environment to grow, and giving them, if they're into art, finding supplies, funding for art supplies for them. If they're into skateboarding, if they're into anything, giving them an outlet or something to help them grow more, and just non-judgmental ability, and just to help them. They are scared, they are not in the safest of places, and they need support.
I forget what the question is.
Let them know that it is okay to ask for help, and that it's not going to be pushed on them in a negative way.
I would say to be patient and unbiased when you're dealing with youth, because everyone develops at their own rate. Some things are going to be very different depending on where they've been, what they've been through, and all of that. So you need to have patience, come at it unbiased. Don't be throwing out a bunch of stuff oh, you're doing it because of this and that, and be you need to be doing this and that instead. Just kind of lightly hurting them towards a general goal, but not forcing them towards it.
Do you want to say something? What I would say is be very supportive and loving and very open. And I found what helped me the most is when people would just sit with me and talk with me and listen and show that they care.
Masi. So we'll take these two more before we close the panel. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Billy. I'm from Klatinko First Nation. I am a family support worker and an alternate band rep. And I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for sharing your stories. And that is what inspires me to run a program called Building Connections for Stronger Community, which is bringing our children in foster care and keeping the culture and their identity alive, and keeping with elders and mentors. I'm nervous just like you. I also teach, I'm learning, I was I was raised in the foster system as well, so I don't know very much of my culture, but I'm learning on my own and teaching these children what I know. So I want to say stories like yours inspire me to do a program like this.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for your courage and your beauty within. I thank you. And you're encouraging us all to hold this space for all of our youth across the country. Thank you.
I'm shy. I'm shy. You're going to share a song? Okay, they want to share a song with all of you. And please don't leave. We still have one more section with them. We're going to gift them.
Once again, we encourage you to check out our website and read our stories. We're going to be ending our session with a song. I always like to sing this song. It is the Children's Blessing Song by Cheryl Sewapegaham. And I like to sing this song all the time because I think we should have our children and our youth in our hearts at all times.
Thank you so much for that. We are now going to gift each and every one of you, and they're going to blanket each and every one of you. So please don't go anywhere while we just finish this ceremony this morning for these young people who have been so brave and courageous to come up here and share their hearts and their love. Jump, jump. The organizers are wrapping you in their love with these blankets, and gratitude to each and every single one of you that are on this stage. Okay. And they're each getting gifted. And I believe Terry is going to be coming up here to take a photo with the youth. Terry. And Mary? Terry and Mary. Terry and Mary. Auntie Mary, we need you up here. They're coming. They're making their way. So maybe they'll find their place where they're going to stand. Yeah, so get closer. Get your cameras out. Nice and close. Run, run, run. Can you look to the left? Oh, warrior pose, warrior pose. And just in some closing words, these young people have validated the foster kid in me. You are a great gift to all of us. And I always say that as you are is enough. You are doing powerful work, and I'm so grateful to every single one of you. And I'm so proud to be sharing this stage with you, because one day you're going to take my job, and they're going to kick me out of here. But I'm really grateful to you for bringing your stories and being so brave and saying that I can tell my story. And even though my life wasn't the way I wished it was, it doesn't mean I'm not enough. That's what I heard. Every single story was, I'm enough no matter what happened to me. And you are also healing. All of these people that stayed here, you are healing the young person inside of them by telling your story. You are all healers, and I'm validating that within all of you today. Can we stand up and celebrate them like they've never been celebrated before? And if you need another auntie, I can be your auntie. I'm offering that to you, all right? So thank you so much for your work. I love you all, Kasagitin. Everyone else, you are on break. From break, you will go into your first session, which will start at 11 o'clock.